Hey, you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Boost! Peekaboo, I see you because I'm YouTube famous now. Available summer 2025, the album, Dad, Shimmy, Shimmy, AF, Rock on Goldust Woman. Taste! Happy Friday. How are you guys doing today? Okay, I have 4 lip balms in front of me today, and I'm not really sure which one I should go in with. So you guys get to pick. Except I just realized that I thought this was such a good idea. I did. I thought this was such a good idea. I was like, I'm going to have the people pick, but then I just realized that I'm filming this, and so, yeah. Anyway, okay, so you guys don't really get to pick, but I'm going to pick. But just act like you're picking in the comment section below. Okay, so we'll just act like, pick in the comment section below, and then if you pick the one that I pick, then you're the winner. Okay, so the first one that I have is the Shimmering Cotton Candy. Now, we have to be kind of afraid. These are all from Treat Beauty. They're $14.99 each. I purchased them all. They were not gifted to me. But you have to be kind of careful with the shimmering ones. I was really excited to buy the shimmering ones because the shimmering ones kind of have like a lip balm. Not a lip balm. A lip thing. It's a lip thing. They kind of have a lip gloss effect to them because they're shimmer, you know. But the one that I use that's called, not Magic Mermaid, the unicorn one, it's like, kind of looks like a powder donut is what it looks like, people say. So this is the Shimmering Cotton Candy Jumbo Lip Balm from Treat Beauty. Then this one is the Balm Pop, like B-A-L-M, like the Balm Pops that you use in the summertime, things like that. Okay, then this one is Candy Drops. So we got those. And then the last one is the Treat Candy Apple. Now the reason that this is the reason that I actually bought these was because it was gift with purchase. No, it was gift with purchase. If you bought, I think it was like if you bought $20 worth of things, which they're $14.99 each, which meant you had to buy 2, so it was like really like $30. But if you bought like $20, I think, of something, then you could actually put in the code at the very end, Candy Apple, and then not like Candy Apple Dance Studio from Dance Moms. Oh my God! You know what? The last time I talked about that, I talked about Candy Apple's Dance Studio from Dance Moms. You know Kathy from Candy Apples from Dance Moms. Oh, you never watched Dance Moms with Kathy Candy Apples and her daughter Vivi. Oh my God! So I talked about Vivi. And I was like, Vivi was always just like eating ice cream in an ice cream store, and she never wanted to do like these. Her mom would always come up with like these huge choreographed deals for her to do. Kathy, her mom. She would always come up with these huge like choreographed deals. And it would basically be all these professional dancers just dancing around Vivi. And I was like, where's Vivi? Where's Vivi today? Justice for Vivi. And all these people commented on my video, and they go, did you not know that Vivi is like a professionally trained dancer today? I did not know that. That she's like in college, like studying. I had no idea. All I know is that Vivi, back in the day when she was like 8 years old, had 2 left feet and liked ice cream. That's what I know about Vivi, okay? But anyway, in dedication to Kathy. Hey, Kathy from Candy Apples. In dedication. So if you didn't watch Dance Moms, Kathy was like Abby Lee Miller's like arch nemesis, right? Like now we know the truth. That was probably, Kathy was probably a pretty nice girl. She was taking her daughter to get ice cream every day. So anyway, I just remember watching those, and it would be like, they're in an ice cream shop, and Vivi would just be like piling ice cream into her mouth, and Kathy would be like, and what we're gonna do is, when we're at Nationals with Abby Lee, we are gonna take her down, and Vivi would just be like piling an ice cream in her mouth, and she'd go, like they were gonna take down Abby Lee Miller, but they never took down Abby Lee Miller, you know what I mean? So anyway, so that's what, but you got the free one, the Candy Apples, but I put this on, and it literally looks like bright red lipstick, so we're not going to use this one today. We're not going to use it. So it's between the Balm Pop. I actually kind of want to try the Cotton Candy Shimmering, because if it's like, we'll see if it's a powder donut. I can't really see that far into the camera. I didn't put my contacts in today, so let's grab my glasses and see how shimmering it is. For those of you that have not seen my new glasses that I got, these are my new glasses. Let's see, is it shimmering? Oh, it's not that bad at all. Okay. So, how are you doing? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? You know what? I'm starting to think that maybe that new song by Jeffree Star is a little bit more of a banger than I gave it credit for, because there are several times during the day that I walk around and I say to myself, hi, how are you? So maybe it's a little bit more of a banger than I thought. But today, we're going to talk about Jaclyn Hill. Jaclyn Hill, Jeffree Star. You know what? I never added Mikayla Nogueira to that list. I never did. And over on my Peter Watches TV channel, yesterday I covered Salem's Lot, the 2024 remake, and today I'm covering Caddo Lake, that just came out on Max. Either that or I'm going to do Strange Darling, the movie that's in the movie theaters right now. I watched it the other night. Paid my $19.99 on Apple TV to watch it. It was really good. I was surprised. It was really great. But anyway, I got so many shows to cover over there. So go over and hang out at my Peter Watches TV channel if you like to talk about TV shows. Okay. So, yeah, I never added Mikayla Nogueira to the drama opera of 2016, which went something like this. Jeffree Star, Jaclyn Hill, Manny MUA. Isn't it weird that it's 2024? So it's 8 years later, and I'm still talking about the same people that I sang about in 2016. But if I talk about somebody else, nobody watches the videos. Because people are like, Peter, you always talk about the same 5 people. But if I talk about somebody different, then nobody watches the videos. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'll be over here 30 years still talking about Jeffree Star, probably. Me and like 2 other drama channels. Okay. Jeffree Star. Let's see where we can add in Mikayla Nogueira. Jeffree Star, Jaclyn Hill, Manny MUA, Nikki Tutorials, James Charles, Hi Sisters, Laura Lee, subscribe. Patrick Star in the house. And then I said, Raw Beauty Christie. But where could I add? Well, we can take Raw Beauty Christie out because she's really not a beauty influencer anymore. She's, I don't know, hanging out on a farm somewhere in the Gnome Woods. The J.R. Token Gnome Woods. She's hanging out there making homemade bread for the gnome people out in the Gnome Woods. So Jeffree Star, Jaclyn Hill, Manny MUA, Nikki Tutorials, James Charles, Hi Sisters, Laura Lee, subscribe, because remember she used to always say that. Patrick Star in the house, Mikayla Nogueira, gifted. Why did that crack me up so much? Okay. So, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. What is so funny about that, I just have to tell you, is that I said in a video not too long ago, somebody asked me something about the Spice Girls, and I said, I don't think I know one Spice Girl song. And, like, in a lot of my videos, I sang, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. And somebody said, why is Peter saying that he doesn't know a Spice Girl song when he literally just sang a Spice Girl song? And so I went through like the comments. This was probably like 2 weeks ago. But anyway, I went through the comments and I was like, what Spice Girl song did I sing? Because I don't know. And somebody said, yeah, he sings that song a lot in his videos, so he does know a Spice Girls song. And they said it, what the song, I don't even remember now what the song's called. What is it called? But anyway, I don't think I knew, or I don't think I remembered that was. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I guess I do know now that that's a Spice Girls song, but I didn't at the time. So anyway, several people have sent me in the last couple days some stuff about Mikayla Nogueira, okay? You know, here's the thing about covering Mikayla Nogueira. Mikayla Nogueira has a pretty feisty fan group out there, okay? A pretty feisty fan group that, you know, there are people that are making TikToks about her that are getting hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But when I make, with my lowly 6,000 views a video, when I make a video about Mikayla Nogueira, people get really, really angry and upset about it. They just cannot handle it when I talk about it. I don't know why, okay? So I went in to watch what she was talking about, what people were sending me about the fact that she was supporting James Charles painted foundations or whatever they are. And then people were like all up in arms about it. There's a couple TikToks about it people sent me, and other people are saying stuff about it. Number one, I'm not surprised. Mikayla Nogueira will support anybody that supports her, okay? She'll support anybody that gives her anything. So I went in here because I was like, that was originally what this video was going to be today, was going to be that I was going to cover this Mikayla Nogueira. She said something, okay, so she does the foundations for James Charles. She's like, oh my God, look what we got, the James Charles. Everybody sends her everything. I mean, I was looking through one of her TikToks, and it's that Tier brand that gave her the purses, and Cody, the Gucci sweatshirt, and all kind of stuff. They just sent her, like, I mean, I don't even know how. All these companies send her so much makeup. I mean, we're talking about PR on speed at this point, right? Like, the hoarding that has to occur in this woman's house is unbelievable. That's like what I think when I watch it, right? She's like holding up this thing from tier, and it's literally like, I think each palette probably has to have, it has 5 across and let's say 6 or 7 down. I don't know, like 30, 40 40, of these whatever foundations on each thing, and then there's like 4 across. So you're talking about like 200, 160 to 200. And she's like, and I use it every day. Every one of these things that she reviews, like she says the James Charles thing, and she says, oh my God, I use it every day. It's like, and I'm literally going through her TikToks, and I can't find another place where she's talking about where she's using it, unless it's a review for James Charles. And she says that a lot in a lot of her makeup reviews. She's like, I use this every day. Well, you do like 3 TikToks every day. And you don't use the same products over and over and over again unless you're getting sponsored and not disclosing it. So, no, you're really not. So when you say that, that's untrue. But what was interesting to me when I was watching this, so at the end of the review of James Charles, Mikayla Nogueira says, she said something about, I can't remember how she says it, but she said something to the effect of like, and you can say whatever you want to say about James Charles, but that's none of my business, is what she says, right? And that's what people are really upset about, is that basically, number one, she's supporting and endorsing somebody that's a predator, okay? And she doesn't really care. Number two, the fact that she's basically saying you can say whatever you want, it's really none of your business. Well, that's not really what she says. What she says in there is, you can say whatever you want to say about James Charles, but it's none of my business, is what she says. Well, it kind of is your business, because you are in the makeup industry. You are pushing brands to people. So you're choosing to push a brand, and it's very telling in the comment sections, because when I was looking through the comment of the video, or the TikTok, there's like 3 people that are questioning her for, like, they're like, like somebody on there said something to the effect of, like, I can't believe that he even has a platform, and somebody underneath there was like, why wouldn't he? But there's people underneath there like, what's the issue with James Charles? And people are like, well, he came out in a video and he said he was, he had victims and whatever, and then people underneath there are like, who cares? Who cares about that in 2024? Who cares about that in 1980? Who cares? I mean, I think it's, I think it's sad. It's interesting because I just covered over on my Peter Watches TV channel, I covered both the Monster Show by Ryan Murphy, and I also covered it's weird how like 2 kind of thought ideas live in the universe at the same time, right? And so I covered the Menendez documentary that I had just watched, right? It just came out, I think, on the 7th, and so I just watched it. I actually wish I could find this comment, because I was kind of surprised about this comment that I received. A lot of people really today believe that, we're living in a world where the Menendez brothers and their abuse defense of being sexually abused by their father and abused by their mother, Kitty, that in the time that in 1989, when the crimes occurred, that nobody believed in the victimization of men in our society, right? And so there was this like huge, ideology that this couldn't happen to men, which is why that in the second trial, it wasn't reduced to, they could only get charged with first-degree murder. They couldn't get charged with manslaughter. If they had gotten charged with manslaughter, a lesser charge in the second trial, which wasn't even offered, then they would have gotten out of prison years ago, because it would have been a lesser charge based on the abuse, okay? And there's a lot of people talking about this today. A lot of people are saying that they feel like because of the abuse that they suffered, there's all this evidence coming out. All this evidence has been out for a long time, right? And so they're trying to reopen the Menendez trial based on this abuse thing. And then we just see the situation that just happened with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. So I got this comment on my video. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Where is it at? It was on the Menendez one. But I will say a lot of the people in my comment sections were really for... they were really for, I wish I could find this comment, because it was so interesting. I was like, this person took a really hard stance against this. People are saying the family member's testimony about Jose abusing the boys as young as 2 years old pushed me over the edge. It's like all this, people are really, really siding with the Menendez. Well, this one person came out and they said on here, basically, that Jose Menendez had been like abusing these boys and whatever, and nobody believed them. And this one person basically said, I'm not really sure that I think that their death is too far of a reach for this. People are really getting pretty heated about the fact that the believability of male victims, we're even living in a time where the believability of female victims of abuse is still not that highly believed. And so we're talking about that. Okay, well, this is like one of the things when people are like, why do you make such an issue out of it? This is a huge issue, right? Like, we're seeing this all over pop culture right now. People that are getting called out for sexually predatory behavior, and they're literally canceled overnight, right? And not even just canceled, but other things are happening other than that. We're seeing all this stuff go on, and James Charles is somebody that he wasn't just accused of it. I mean, we have a lot of people that have been accused of it, and they've never come out and spoken about it. So you really don't know what happened. Even if you want to say that we should always believe the victims, I think that there's a lot of people out there that still have the question in your mind. Should you believe them, or is there any truth to the story, or are they just coming out and saying it? James Charles is somebody that has said, well, all these people are making up stories, and yet he's one of the only people. This is what's so baffling to me about it, okay? He is one of the only people that has ever come out with sexual predatory allegations. And most of these people come out and say, I have nothing to do. I never did this. Prove it. Take me to court. Most of the people do that, right? James Charles gets in a video and takes responsibility for it and apologizes to his victims, okay? Then it comes out that these victims lied about their age. And even though this was after the fact that James Charles had apologized to them, and then people victim blame the victims. So we're living in a world, okay? This is what's so baffling to me. We're living in a world where we're talking about people that, like, from huge levels of abuse, like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the Menendez brothers, people like that, right? And Natalia Grace, things like that. On a huge level like that are horrifically abused, okay? When we have people in our foster care systems and people in just regular homes and whatever, all the time that are horribly, horribly physically, sexually abused, neglected, and things like that. We also have a lot of allegations of sexual misconduct and predatory behavior in social media all the time. And from what I typically see with these gaming people and people on TikTok and things like that, they're literally canceled overnight. And they're people that come out and they deny it. They absolutely 100% deny if there's any truth to it whatsoever. James Charles gets in a video, and I don't understand what it is about the likability of James Charles, okay? That's what's so confusing to me, the likability of James Charles. But at this point, I made so many videos about it. Really, in all honesty, what is the point? Somebody explain this to me, okay? I think it's important to continue to talk about the story. But until something new comes out, what's the point of me continuing to get in a video and talk about it over and over and over again? Because the people, it's obvious. You can see people that are signing off underneath Mikayla Nogueira saying, and they're like, he didn't do anything wrong. Why should he be canceled? And then somebody's like, because he had two victims that were minors, and people are like, who cares? Okay, so we don't care about that, but then we care about it when it's like, let's lift somebody up that is a victim. It's like, there's no right thinking. There's no, it's where it's the hottest thing that's going on, right? Well, that's kind of scary to me when we're living in a world, in all honesty, when we're picking and choosing. It's basically junior high and high school again with popularity. When we're picking the believability of victims and who should be canceled and who should be held accountable based on popularity and fame. Like, that's pretty scary to me that we live in that world, okay? When you're seeing things that are going on, like with, Sean Combs and things like that, on that kind of a level, and, and all this kind of stuff that we've seen come out the last couple years, I think it's surprising to me that, and I'm not comparing James Charles to that, but I'm also not minimizing what he did to those two victims. To those two victims, it was horrific, okay? And they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. So when Mikayla Nogueira gets in a TikTok and she says, and whatever you say is none of my business, well, Mikayla, to some degree, what products you're endorsing to your audience is our business, okay? And since I watched your TikTok, I'm making it my business because I am a viewer now of that TikTok, of that said TikTok, okay? So you're making it my business, right? When you say whatever we say is none of your business, right? Then she turns around and she does another TikTok where James Charles sends her this huge bouquet of flowers. Now, what's interesting to me about this is not the bouquet of flowers, okay? So he sends her this bouquet of flowers, and what he says in the card is something to the effect, she's like, look at this, she goes around and shows this whole, this is like a $400, $500 bouquet of flowers, okay? And she goes around and she shows, probably more than that, with the vase, it's probably a $1,000 arrangement of flowers. So she goes around and shows it, and she reads the card, right? And she says in there something to the effect of that he's like, it's like, you're such a kind person, like, not just in your, well, thank you for doing the review, but also, like, you're such a great person inside and out, off and on the camera, like, knowing that he knows her really well off the camera. So now what we know is, by her reading that card, that Mikayla Nogueira is not just somebody that is endorsing James Charles on camera for view. She's also somebody that's supporting James Charles off the camera, okay? She's another one of these people that is supporting James Charles for what he's doing off the camera, okay? I said I wasn't going to do a whole Mikayla Nogueira video. Now this is kind of turning into that. So maybe I'll save my other video that I was going to do at the end of this for tomorrow. Because the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm thinking this is kind of important. Because it is important. important. But every time I do a Mikayla Nogueira video, people go crazy. They just can't handle it. They really can't, you know, because this is the super fandom again. I mean, anybody that comes out and says anything against Peter Monn for telling the truth on Mikayla Nogueira, what you're saying is you're a super fan. You might as well just make a video or a post and say, I'm a super fan of Mikayla Nogueira and these are all the things I love about her, okay? Because you're wasting your breath on coming for me and attacking me for telling the truth of Mikayla Nogueira because you're just wasting your breath. It's pointless. It's so obvious that the people that have an issue with it, okay? Like I say this all the time, I'm not discouraging anybody from following Mikayla Nogueira or James Charles. You got to figure out who you're going to like, right? But when you're talking about somebody that's getting gifted things, because then what happens is she shows this Giacomo bag, okay? This Giacomo bag. Now, this purse that she's holding up is about a $5,000 purse, okay? She holds this Giacomo bag, and she goes, oh my God, is this from James Charles? Implying in that moment that because she did a good review, all right, of his makeup, he sent her this flower arrangement because she read the card and it said in the card that thank you for doing the review. Now she's holding this purse, and in the purse she's assuming it's from James Charles. It's not. She says it's from like Tula or something like that. And so basically, if you go watch Mikayla Nogueira's TikToks, I watched enough of them. When I watched them, I was like, this is interesting to me. Like, her TikToks are either her getting ready for something, like going to an event, like Selena Gomez's Rare Beauty in the meeting with Selena Gomez, or going to a concert. Like, her videos are either her getting ready to go to something, which I think people love those. I think those are relatable. Or it's her showing a gift that she's received or PR that she's received. That's literally what her TikTok is. Her TikToks are literally her getting ready to go do something or trying a product. Which, okay, she's a makeup reviewer. That makes sense. But the other half of her videos are all her showing stuff she's gifted, whether it's PR or a bag. The fact that she's in this TikTok and she's talking about this flower arrangement she got from James Charles, and then she turns around and she says, oh, look at this bag. I bet, is it from James Charles too? And then she opens it and she's like, it's not. What's so interesting about this interchange when you look at it, okay, is that this moment is... like, she's just like, oh, she pulls this bag out. Like, it's already, like, her assistant already prepared it for her and stuff. And she, like, pulls it out. And she's like, oh, it's like this bag, blah, 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 whatever. And it's just kind of like, oh, thanks, you know, for... I mean, she didn't even really say that if you watch the TikTok. I was just like, you are so used to being gifted high-end shit and PR at this point that it's just, like, nothing to you anymore, right? And you're expecting it. But this is the other thing that I really understood while I was watching it. Mikayla Nogueira is very smart, right? Because Mikayla Nogueira gets criticized a lot for being gifted things, okay? For doing reviews. But she doesn't really care about the criticism. She never addresses the criticism. And in fact, the people that love Mikayla, they lift her up. They're like, good that she's getting a purse. We're happy. Like, we love Mikayla. You know, she came from working at the Ulta counter or wherever she was working, Mac counter, I think it was Ulta. And then she's made herself into this. Good that she's getting a purse. Good that she's getting a, you know, a Birkin or a Giacomo purse or whatever. Congratulations to her for that. You know, like, people are, like, supporting her on that. So she shows it. But what she's also sending the message out to is, if you send me something, I probably am more likely to do a nice review for you. And she never addresses it, right? Like, she never addresses this ever and says, I'm so tired of people saying that I'm gifted things in exchange for a nice review. That she never says that, right? So she's not going to address it. So basically the message that she's sending out to her fans is, you too can be like me if you start a beauty influencer channel and keep on watching me and liking me, and then I'm gonna, like, you can vicariously live through me. This is what Mikayla Nogueira is, kind of a reinvention of the the OG beauty influencers from like 2014 to 2016. Basically what she's showing, like Jaclyn Hill back in the day, is if you want to live vicariously through me, I'm like the American dream, okay? I'm buying this house with what I did on TikTok. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. She's kind of the American dream. And so people watching her are rooting for her and they love her, right? And I will say, like, there's something about Mikayla Nogueira that when I watch her TikToks, like, and I've said this for a long time, there is a relatability, likability quality about her. I understand why the people that watch her videos like her. But I think where she kind of plays dumb, just like, oh, I got this purse, I think it's more calculated than that. I really do. I think she's sending this message out to her fans that, like, follow along with me. I always say this. I say this to people all the time, that one of the biggest mistakes that YouTubers make is that they don't take their audience along for the journey, right? Mikayla Nogueira has taken her audience for along from the journey, from the very beginning to her getting high-end purses. She's completely taken her audience along for the journey, right? And where a lot of people are like, she's kind of selling out, blah, 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 whatever. If you watch her TikToks, she acts very excited most of the time. Now, with this bag, she didn't act super excited, but with the flower arrangement and the PR, I mean, she's like, oh my God, I got this. I mean, she goes over the top. Like, she gets real excited about it, you know? And so that is her taking her audience along for the journey. The problem with that is that when you're sending out a message and saying, it doesn't matter what you think about this person, it's none of my business, it 100% is your business what brands you're supporting. You know, 100% is your business. I think in the day that we live in today, you know, it is our business. What companies that you're supporting. James Charles is not just an influencer, he's a brand. When you're it's not just about watching one of his videos and supporting a predator. It's now, if you're purchasing his products, you're purchasing products of somebody that has predatory behavior that he came out and admitted himself. It's basically like handing money. Okay, why don't we start a GoFundMe for those victims to get them through college or whatever they choose to do or buy their own house? Because it's basically the same thing that you're doing to James Charles. So yeah, it kind of is our business, Michaela. But anyway, to get off the Mikayla Nogueira thing, because like that was interesting to me. I was actually going to just make this one video, make it a little shorter, but I think I'm going to go into this whole thing with Jaclyn Hill. So when I went into TikTok, I was like looking through and I was like, okay, well let me look up and see where Jaclyn Hill is these days. So this TikTok of Jaclyn Hill's comes up. Well, the first one that I saw was actually this one where she's talking about it's a year later and she doesn't have, like, she's lost all of her friends because she's sober, okay? Which we're going to get into just a second. But the first one that she shows is this one. And it's this clip. Now, I just want to show you just a couple minutes or a couple seconds of this clip. So here you go.
One thing about me, I am a girl's girl. I have been a girl's girl my entire life. It's what built my entire career.
Okay, now what's interesting to me about this is that I actually, like, I watch these kind of out of order, but what's interesting to me about this is, like, people keep on sending me all this stuff, and they're like, Jaclyn Hill is so delusional. Like, Jaclyn Hill has, like, no concept of reality. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, is this another, like, situation like Mikayla Nogueira, like, out of sight, out of mind? Like, I'm just going to ignore it. Or does Jaclyn Hill really believe this stuff? You know, like, I did this video last, and I rolled down through all of them until the last one that I watched where she talked about how she was getting shadow banned on TikTok. And she really believed she was getting shadow banned. Or did she? Or did she say that because she wasn't getting the views that she wanted to get on TikTok, and by saying she was being shadow banned? I'm like with Jaclyn Hill, I can't, okay, I have to just tell you, through my years of covering her on YouTube, like, Mikayla Nogueira seems smart to me. She seems calculated. Like, it would not surprise me if she did not have a business plan sitting around her house from 6 years ago of where she got to today. Like, that, a visual board, all that kind of Pinterest board. It would not surprise me if Mikayla Nogueira did not see herself exactly where she is 6 years ago. Jaclyn Hill, it was a lot of, like, a wish and a prayer and some good luck, okay? And the fact that she got in early with, I mean, if Jaclyn Hill came in today as a beauty influencer, she wouldn't have had the collabs that she had. She wouldn't have had the Morphe connection. Jaclyn Hill would not be who she is today if she had come in. I think if she had come in at the time that Mikayla Nogueira came in, I don't think she would be as popular. I really don't, you know? But I'm watching this, and I'm like, is she really this delusional to say, I've always been a girl's girl? Now, you know, Jaclyn, okay, that one of your biggest criticisms is that you stole the brand Cozy from Kayla Nicholson, okay? I actually just was rolling through Instagram last night, and I love those little things that have, like, pumpkins and, you know, cup of coffee and whatever. And somebody said something about, like, I'm ready for cozy season, and it was C-O, they spelled it with an S-Y. I don't know, but maybe that's another way of spelling it, but they spelled C-O-S-Y instead of C-O-Z-Y, but I almost shared it. I was like in my head, I was like kind of snarky, and so I was like, don't you mean K-O-Z-E is what I was going to put on there last night. I didn't post it. But anyway, but I was thinking about it. But, like, one of Jaclyn Hill's biggest criticisms is that she's not a girl's girl, and that she's walked over a lot of women in the beauty industry, like Marlene Estelle and all these women, right? That she's never, like, really considered other women in the business industry and the beauty industry. That's, like, one of the biggest criticisms of Jaclyn Hill ever. You know, back in the day with, like, Becca Cosmetics and all that. I mean, people have criticized Jaclyn for years for not having other women's backs within the beauty industry. And the latest one, okay, was with the Cozy brand with Kayla Nicholson. And then she can't even say her name in a video. You're such a girl's girl that you come out and you kind of address it, but you still can't even say her name in a video. You're such a girl's girl, right? And I'm like, is she delusional or is she doing this on purpose? Because the Jaclyn Hill that I have followed for 8 years, she's not that sharp that she would do that. Like, but then you think back, like, this is where I'm so confused sometimes, right? Then you think back to the canceled dress. And unless the canceled dress at the Halloween party was somebody else's idea, then what that shows you is that Jaclyn Hill kind of can be rude and nasty sometimes, right? I mean, she always comes out and is like, everybody's bullying me. She does a very good job of playing the victim that everybody's coming for and please feel sorry for me and stuff like that. But I think right after the canceled dress at the Halloween party is her and her friend wiping their brows at a dinner party with $100 bills. And so I'm like, is that the real Jaclyn Hill? Would the real Jaclyn Hill please stand up? Because I'm kind of confused about who the real Jaclyn Hill is. Okay, oh, got to put my ring glasses on. I don't even need them because I got my glasses off. So then I go down here and I'm looking at this story time, okay? This is a story time. I'm not going to include the whole thing for you, but it's about her, she's talking about she's dyeing her hair in there, and all this kind of stuff. And so, which is interesting to me. I don't know why, but that she's dyeing her hair at home. I mean, like, out of a good box, girl. Like, you don't go to a hairstylist. Like, you spend all your money on this bougie shit and you're dyeing her. I mean, I kind of live, if that's the truth. I mean, she's like an old t-shirt. This reminds me of me and my girlfriends in high school, okay? With that manic panic hair dye in the bathrooms dyeing our hair. Okay, that's what this is giving me, and I kind of live for it a little bit, okay? But she's not coloring her hair in her bathroom herself, which I live for. So anyway, but she's going in there and she's talking about how years ago, she went to, and I was actually kind of interested in this. She's talking about how she wanted to get a BBL. But if she was going to get a BBL, she was never going to lie about it, right? And so she went to go see this plastic surgeon, and she was talking to her friend that went with her to the plastic surgeon's office that's in California about how she was, like, worried about what her followers would say because all of a sudden she'd just come back with a big ass. Well, she says in here that she would never lie about it. I don't know why you're worried about what your fans would say about it if you were going to be honest about it. No, that's not true. First of all, the conversation probably went something like this. I'm going to come back and everybody's going to guess that I had a BBL. How am I going to tell them that, right? That's probably the conversation, because if your plan was to get a BBL and come back and be 100% honest about it with your audience, then the conversation that came after that with the plastic surgeon would never have occurred, because the conversation would have been, no, I'm just going to be honest with my audience. I'm just worried that they're going to be like anti-BBL because it's getting a lot of negative attention right now because people have died from BBLs and it's very, very dangerous, right? And I've actually talked to several plastic surgeons about that back in the day because I was interested about it. There's friends of ours that we have that are plastic surgeons, and some of them say that it can be very dangerous, and other ones say that it depends on how the procedure is done and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I've kind of gotten conflicting messages about that. I'm too old at this point that if I got a BBL, it would look ridiculous, and no, I don't want to go through any kind of surgery like that. If you want to get one, you do you, and I'm just thankful that I'm married to a man that doesn't need one. But, because like James Charles, okay? Some of you might need a strap on your Depends about what I'm going to say about Jaclyn Hill, but I don't want to have to be, buying Depends for my husband because he got a BBL, and I'm not getting a BBL. But I'm not anti-plastic surgery or any of this stuff whatsoever. I think I get that comment every once in a while. People are like, you're so anti-procedures, and I'm like, I am. Like, I had Botox like 3 times before I decided that I was stopping doing it. My husband is so into procedures and all that kind of stuff. My father's a retired plastic surgeon. No, I'm not anti-procedures whatsoever. My father was a plastic surgeon, hand reconstructionist, but did a lot of cosmetic surgery. It was 50% of what he did his entire life. No, he was one of the first people in Indiana to ever do liposuction. I am not anti-plastic surgery, aesthetic procedures whatsoever. Do you if it makes you happier. I've just decided that I just want to age authentically. Because the more Botox I got, the first time I got it, I lived. The second time I was like, The third time I got it, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with the Botox. So she goes in here and talks about how the plastic surgeon and his assistant come out and they bring this whole thing about how they'll give her a huge discount if she talks about other procedures that she's getting there. That she'll get a discount on her BBL. But then the way to fake it is just to go online and act like you've been going to the gym 4 weeks before you got it, and then don't show you're behind for 2 to 3 months or something like that. You're behind. Did I just say that? Did not show your ass. Your ass. 2 to 3 months before you display your BBL. Now, why are you even having this conversation if you're saying I would always be honest about it to begin with? Did anybody clock that? That conversation would never occur, because it would, if you were just worried about your followers' acceptance, the conversation would never occur about how to fake it. You would never have that conversation. Okay, so anyway, what she's saying is she does not like the fact that there are all these people, these influencers. She's like, these influencers are so disingenuous. I think she even uses that word. And they lie about all this stuff online, and they're not, authentic. And they're acting like they're getting one procedure done when they're getting something else. I'm like, really, girl? And she's like, and they're talking about these things that they don't even know anything about. I'm like, really, girl? You really have all this to say? When you actually put 30 to 40 links in an Amazon's favorite, some products you've never even tried before. You've never even tried some of these products before. And you don't disclose that they're affiliate links. You don't disclose appropriately that you're making money off of them. Hell, Jaclyn, half the time you don't even disclose when you do a sponsorship in a video. You don't hit paid programming. So how dare you come for somebody for not their dishonesty over a BBL, which is okay, that's their personal choice, right? But then you're saying that they're lying about it because they're getting a discount on it. So you're pissed that somebody's getting a discount on a BBL because they're getting other procedures, but they're actually getting other procedures and saying that they're getting those other procedures from that office, okay? And disclosing that. You aren't even disclosing anything appropriately. And now I'm thinking, like, is she really this delusional? Is Jaclyn Hill really this delusional? That now two things that she gets called out on the most, the non-disclosure. I mean, it's like, you're almost like coming for it, like you're asking for attention. And I'm like, is this like old school drama? Like her views are so bad that she is going to, like, she's got to bring drama to it. Okay. So that the next one, this was the one that I wanted to talk about today, which is her second most recent one. It's right here. I'll put up the picture. I can't show it because it's got music. It's literally just like 10 seconds. It's her and she like walks out of the room, okay? She's grabbing a bag and then she walks out of the room. So, but anyway, so I will put up the screenshot for you here. But underneath here, she says, a year later, and I couldn't be happier, talking about her sobriety. Apparently, she does refer to her sobriety as being sober. She says, but my friend group has completely changed. It hurt so bad at first losing people because of my choice to be sober and set boundaries. But it got so much better and I'm so grateful. Now, when I saw this, I was like, okay, congratulations, Jaclyn, on over a year sober. I think that was a while ago that she celebrated a year sober. Congratulations on your sobriety. I'm sober. Before I get into this, I just want to make this clear for anybody that has never watched one of my videos before, because I talk about it almost in every video. I've been sober for 29 years and 9 months at this point, okay? And of continuous sobriety. And, got sober when I was 22 and a half years old. My sobriety birthday is December 17th of 1994. I am sober by way of a 12-step program. I have a sponsor. She is a sponsor. I have a home group. I work steps. I do service work. I'm actively involved in a 12-step program. That is not the only way to get sober. There are many, many different ways to get sober today. There are maintenance drugs, there's mat therapy, church, whatever, however you want to do it. There are many ways. I respect all of those ways. I just don't want people to die today because of drugs and alcohol. I don't want people's lives to be worse because of drugs and alcohol today, right? But when I read this, at first I kind of was like, oh, this is interesting, but I don't know. She says underneath there's a quote, and it says, of course we will still be friends if you stop drinking, okay? So then underneath here, she says, a year later, and I couldn't be happier, but my friend group has completely changed. It hurt so bad at first losing people because of my choice to be sober and set boundaries, but it got so much better, and I'm so grateful. Okay, so what I'm taking from this is that what they said to her at first when she got sober was, and I am going to report on this because I am a sober person, and I feel like my job as a sober person online, and I decided when I first came online 8.5 years ago, that I was always going to talk about my sobriety. It's a huge part of my life. It is the number one priority in my life. If I'm not sober, I don't have anything else. I don't have YouTube. I don't have my home. I don't have my husband. I don't have my family. I don't have my friends. I don't have anything if I'm not sober. I take it very, very, very seriously, okay? And so it's important to me what messages are being sent out there into the universe or into in the world about sobriety. Now, I'm very proud of Jaclyn Hill for her sobriety. Some of the things I've seen from Jaclyn Hill in the last year is that she has talked extensively about mocktails that she's making in sobriety because they just really help her stay sober. All these mocktails, she did a whole lot of that. Then she was talking about Poppies, and she was talking about all these other different kind of drinks, brands. And then she got a sponsorship from Poppies. So she turned her sobriety into a way of getting sponsorships, okay? It's not like she had been sober for like 5 years, okay? It's not like she had been sober for 10 years and everything it was like she made a decision. That's fantastic. She made a health decision. At first it was a health decision. Now it's a sober decision, okay? More power to her. But now it's turned into this thing where she wants to make money, okay, off of it. And I don't, listen, and people ask me what I think about that. I have very conflicted views about that. But I think, listen, if she's sober and she's sending out the message of sobriety and she's making some money off of it, more power to her. Do I think it's a whole lot different than getting in a video and talking about it and making some money off of it? No, I don't care. But it makes me wonder, like, why is that your focus, okay? Like, instead of just being sober. And she's never come out and said anything about working in a 12-step program, so I can't completely compare my experience to that, okay? But what I will say is that in my journey on YouTube, and being online, sharing my sobriety story, I have had several missions that I wanted to do of planting a seed. One of the seeds I wanted to plant is that don't ever give up hope on those people that are out there using, okay? Because my mom got sober 6 months after I did at 51 years old, and she had 13 years of sobriety and she died sober. The other message I wanted to have is don't ever give up on people, because some people try 20 and 30 times to get sober. I went through treatment 5 times before I got sober, okay? The other thing is that I want people to know, whoever's out there suffering right now, you can make changes in your life tomorrow, okay? You can make changes, maybe tomorrow you're not ready, maybe it's 6 months down the road, but at any time, you can change your life, okay? There is an amazing sober life waiting for you out there. It is not easy, okay? Staying sober is not easy. When I got out of treatment, my counselor said to me, and I've said this in many, many videos, this will be the hardest thing you ever do. It will be the most valuable thing you ever do. And it has been the most valuable thing I've ever done. It's also been the hardest thing I've ever done. At 29 and a half years sober, it's really not that difficult to me today. It's how I think. It's the language that I speak, you know? And the other thing I wanted people to always know is that we're not a glum lot. We have a lot of fun in sobriety. I have more fun sober. Well, maybe, I had some good times using, but collectively, over the 29, I have a life I never would have had. I'd be dead. Years ago, I said to my dad something when we were out to dinner for my birthday or lunch, and I said, if I kept on using, he goes, you'd be dead. He didn't even miss a beat. I go, do you really? He goes, you'd be dead. Absolutely, you'd be dead. You know, so for me, it's like, am I willing to trade off losing some friends for the life that I have today? Fucking A, yeah, absolutely I am. And maybe that's what she's saying, but it seems kind of bitter to me a little bit, what she's saying, right? She says, a year later, and I couldn't be happier, but my friend group has completely changed, and it hurt so bad at first losing people because of my choice to be sober and set boundaries. Now, okay, Jaclyn Hill is not 16 years old, okay? I think she's 30, right? 29 or 30. Maybe 31. I don't know how old she is, but she's close to 30. It's not like she's 16 years old, okay? Were your friends, like, I don't know, like, banging kegs in the backyard and forcing you to do it? Were they coming over and forcing you to binge shots of alcohol? I'm confused about this statement of setting boundaries, okay? One of my favorite movies of life from back in the day, I think it was a Lifetime made-for-TV movie called Her Last Chance with Kelly Martin. There is about this girl that's an alcoholic when she's in high school, and one of her best friends is this girl, and the girl that was in My So-Called Life, she was the girl with the long red hair, I can't remember her name now. But anyway, she says to her that she's going to quit drinking because she's quit drinking with her, right? And then her friend ends up getting drunk, and then Kelly Martin ends up getting drunk, and then using drugs, and then she ends up back in a rehab center, and then she ends up getting sober, and then she ends up working at the rehab center. I love this movie so much. But anyway, but, you know, I think it's a good portrayal, is that when I got sober, you know, I've told this story a lot. Like, my counselor in treatment had me, and she's never said that her addiction or her alcoholism, she's never referred to her, she said sober, but I've never heard her say she's an alcoholic. So she's never said her drinking took her to a level where she couldn't be around people that were drinking. When I got out of treatment, I was at a point where I couldn't be around people that were sober. My counselor had me call people and say, I can't continue to hang out with them. And I was so worried that these people were going to be mad at me, okay? What I realized quickly was that I think I was just going to probably ruin their good time, okay? And I figured that out pretty quickly. One of the people, incidentally, that I had to call, I'm sorry, Jaclyn, for you and losing friends because you set boundaries. One of the people that I had to call in my life was my mom. I had to call my mom and tell her that I couldn't continue to be around her if she continued to drink. And my mom couldn't believe it when I told her. And I saw my mom very little for the 6 months of my sobriety until she got sober because my mom's drinking was so out of control. So I'm sorry that you lost some friends over it. I think that kind of goes along with the territory. You know that, right? You know you're going to lose friends. But I've said this for years. I don't know. Maybe it was harder for you than you're actually ever saying it about. Then maybe it's not about mocktails. Because this is what I'm confused about in watching this as a person in recovery today, as a person that defines myself as an alcoholic and defines myself as clean and sober today. And I define myself as an addict as well. What's confusing to me about this is that I kind of knew that I was going to lose friends when I got sober. It was a very lonely time for me. I've talked a lot about it on my vlog and in other videos. It was a very lonely time for me. I was going to meetings and people weren't reaching out to me, and my sponsor in recovery would say to me, well, are you going up to them and talking to them? Are you trying to make new friends that are sober friends today? But that was when I was 22 years old, and that's kind of what everybody did, was party and drink and whatever, you know? And I can tell you right now, and I've said this in a past video, that there's no mocktail in the world that would have brought me the same joy as a double Jack and Coke and a shot of Jack on the side, okay? So the mocktail thing to me, if you have an issue with your friends that won't stop drinking around you or whatever, then the mocktail thing kind of goes along with me with that. Like, you're selling this idea of mocktails and pushing these drinks and acting like a poppy will give you the same effect as a vodka tonic. That's absolutely fucking 100% not true, okay? I don't know about you, all right? But I took a drink and the drink took me. That's my story, okay? One was too many and 1,000 was never enough. So there was no poppy, mocktail, or anything in the world that was going to do anything different for me, okay? It wasn't going to make me feel no fucking kind of way. And when I start seeking out shit in my life that's going to make me feel different is when I have to start looking at what's the real issue behind it. You know, people ask me all the time, how do I deal with cravings today? Today, do I romanticize what it might be like to sit on a beach with a beer? Sure, that sounds good to me all the time, right? Not all the time. It sounds good to me like once in a while when I'm going on vacation or whatever. You know, or when I'm out to dinner and friends of mine are like having some fruity special drink, which I never drank those drinks to begin with, except for maybe Long Island. And I think, oh, that looks kind of fun, you know, or whatever. But if I'm craving, like I want to drink, like I really want to drink today, then what that is to me is that there's something deeper going on to me that I need to call my therapist or I need to call my sponsor, because it's not just about the drink. It's about what's going on with me that I'm wanting to escape. What's going on with me that I'm wanting to run away from? What's going on for me that's wanting to mute me? The other thing that I had to learn pretty early in sobriety, and I've said this a lot, is that nobody can get me drunk and nobody can get me sober. And I can't get anybody drunk and I can't get anybody sober. My sobriety is my responsibility. 100%. And it's nobody else's responsibility to stay sober around me. We live in a world today where alcohol is very, 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 very prevalent. Marijuana is prevalent today. You know? I mean, it's everywhere. So to stay sober today and be a sober person, you have to live in a world of alcohol and drugs. Not live in a world you can't isolate yourself. I mean, I know people that do that and they don't ever leave their houses or go see anywhere, but except for to like go to a meeting and only hang out with sober people. I chose not to do that. I actually got a question on my Peterisms video the other day, and I wrote up this whole thing because somebody asked me what it's like to date a normie. Like, would you give them advice on dating a normie? And in recovery, in a 12-step program, what we call a normie is somebody that just drinks normally like everybody else. They're not an alcoholic. They don't have a drinking problem. They just drink normally like everybody else. And so I was going to address this. Where is it at? And it's called In Love with an Alcoholic or an Addict. And because people, whenever I do Q&As with my husband, people always ask, like, is it hard for you that your husband drinks? Because my husband drinks alcohol. And so people always ask that question, is it hard for you to have alcohol in the house? We don't have that much alcohol in the house. I think we have like 2 bottles of wine right now. But like back in the day, there were times. The whole summer, I talked about this in a video not too long ago, that my husband, this was like 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, it was probably 15 years ago because we've been together 16 years. That he went to the pool with the girls, right? His friends. And they like split like a 12-pack of beer. And he brought like 1 or 2 beers. I think it was 1. And he had it at the bottom of the fridge. That beer was down there in the bottom of the fridge for like 2 months. Finally, we got into like some argument argument, and I go, can you just take that beer out of the refrigerator? He goes, what are you talking about? And I go, that beer that's been staring at me all summer long. This was when I wasn't going to meetings, okay? This was when I was not, like, working a program actively. I just was sober. I just wasn't using, right? Which is why I believe that you have to do other things to work on yourself once you take the drug and the alcohol away. That's not just to solve all. It's just to take the drug and the alcohol away. And he goes, I didn't even know that there was a beer. He goes, yeah, absolutely, I'll take it out. Well, I was going through it at that time, okay? It was several months later that I reached out to my best friend crying over a list that I made in my kitchen where I wrote down vacuum, fold laundry, and I got to like the third or fourth thing and I started bawling my eyes out, called my best friend Tanya Jean. I said, will you take me to a meeting tonight? And she said, absolutely, I've been praying for 4 years for you to ask me. That's when I came back into meetings, right? I've never expected people to be sober around me, but with my husband and I, and this is what I wanted to say in here, it's really about the fact that we speak an entirely different language, okay? That I speak from the point of view of recovery and he does not. So one of the things was that he had to get educated about that. He read all the literature. He knows all of my sober friends. He knows my sponsor. He's got her on speed dial. It was very, very helpful after the accident when I was going through pancreatitis. They worked together with the doctors, my husband and my sponsor. He knows everything there is about recovery. If I talk about what step, if I said step 9, he know that that was about amends. If I said, step 4, he know that that was about inventory. My husband's educated on it today. It helped us speak the same language because we were speaking different languages. It's about respecting one another, And yes, I lost friends back in the day. I've said this not too long ago in videos. One of the things that was hardest for me was that I got sober and I had friends of mine that were still using as hard as I did. And some of those people died. And I wish that they had learned from me what I went through. And they didn't have to die. I also had friends that just kind of quit drinking and using drugs and went on with their life and have amazing lives today. And some of those people drink casually. They're not alcoholics and addicts. Because the world doesn't have to stop because of me. Because I got sober doesn't mean the whole world around me has to change. I have to change to the world around me. And if any sober person out there knows that, this comes across to me in there. And some people were like saying stuff like, a lot of people agreed with her and like, oh, I've lost all my friends since I was sober and things like that, which is interesting to me because I didn't lose all my friends. I don't know if I had a lot of partying friends, but I had a couple friends, like my friend that picked me up from treatment that I had known since kindergarten, that she was like, I'm with you. Like, I'm taking you wherever you need to go. I'm going to support you. Did I have 10 friends? No. Did I have 1 or 2 that were really ride or die good Judies back then? Absolutely. I don't know how you judge friendship. Just sitting in a backyard drinking with puss. I don't know. Yeah, it didn't take me long, and I was 22 and a half years old to realize that those were not really real friendships. Those were partying friendships, which is a lot of people commenting underneath here. But she's not 22 years old. She's 30, okay? And I, at 22 years old, was 22 years old going on about 15-year-old mentality, okay? So I was still in the partying realm of that. So for me, when she comes out here and she says this, it's like, she says on here, of course we will stop being friends if you stop drinking. And then she says underneath her, like she's bitter, she says, a year later and I couldn't be happier, but... Okay, well then you're not happier. But my friend group has completely changed. It hurt so bad at first losing people because of my choice to be sober and set boundaries. So what you're saying is that these people told you that they'll continue to be your friends if you stop drinking, but they're such hardcore alcoholics that they couldn't stop drinking, so you couldn't be around them anymore. Well, I understand not being around problematic drinkers, okay? But then that's your choice. I had to remove myself from the situation, So then it's not their problem. So what you're saying is, like, I never called my mom and told her, I said to my mom on the phone, I can't be around you as long as you continue to drink. That was my choice, okay? I'll be honest with you, I never expected my mom to get sober. It's one of the reasons why I share her story. Don't ever give up hope, like I said at the beginning of this. She was 51 years old. I never expected my mom to get sober. My mom got sober because my Uncle Dave had a heart attack, okay? And whether she was sober for a day, a week, a year, or 10 years after that, she wanted the quality of her life to improve. That's why she got sober. It had nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. I wish it had sometimes, but I don't know why it matters, But to suggest or believe that because you, and we're not talking about, I've never heard Jaclyn Hill come out and say that she was going to be dead or end up in prison because of her drug and alcohol use. And she's never even implied she used drugs. So she's wanting her friends to change because she wanted to make a health lifestyle change because it wasn't healthy for her and her mental health anymore. I think it's a lot to expect of your friends, I do. I think that's a lot at 30 years old to expect that. And I'll be honest with you, at a year sober, I probably couldn't have been around a lot of people that were drinking, but I'm a hardcore alcoholic. Okay, I'm a hardcore alcoholic. I didn't just do it because I wanted to improve my health. I did it because it was a really huge problem for me in my life. Like my dad said, I'd be dead. I couldn't be around it. You know, it was like my friends at the time said, if you go to a barbershop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut. If I hung around it long enough, I was going to get my hair cut. I was going to drink again. That's why I didn't for a very long time, that I didn't hang around those people, right? But that was my choice that I made. You know, that was my choice. I didn't put it on them. I didn't blame them for it. I didn't blame them for my sobriety, and I sure as hell don't blame them for my use. And I think the message that she's sending out here is that if you get sober, you're going to be lonely. You're not going to have any friends because you're going to lose all these friends that you had. I lost a few friends. I did. I don't, in retrospect, really know that maybe we were that great of friends. You know, one of my friends that I stopped hanging out with at the time, he stopped drinking and left the scene. We talked 10 years later, talked about this on the vlog the other day, and it was like no time had gone by. You know, but you grow up and you don't continue to hang out with the same people forever. That's part of life too, as you grow up and people go different ways. It's not just about this kind of stuff, but I can't expect the world to change around me, and I don't at all, you know? I have to learn to live in the world where it's at and have my support system, and I can leave and go anytime that I don't feel comfortable in a situation. But one of the things I want to tell you guys is, as a sober person that has had an amazing life beyond my wildest dreams as a result of my sobriety, is that you can stay sober and have fun, and you can still retain your friends and have great friends. I have today some of the greatest friends ever. I don't have a lot. I have a few. But I have a lot of friendly people that I'm acquaintances with that I'm very grateful for, you know? That I'm very, very grateful for. And I'm going out to dinner on Saturday night for one of Alex's best friends for her birthday. It's a couple's dinner. They will all be drinking there, okay? They will all be drinking there, you know? Will they be drinking, you know, extensively or whatever? I don't know. They'll probably go out afterwards, and I'll probably take an Uber home because that's enough for me as the dinner. But I'll have fun because I can choose to go and stay when I want to, you know? And that friend of his, when I needed to get to a doctor's appointment 6 months after the accident and I didn't have any way to get there, okay, and I couldn't get an Uber, she was at our house in 10 minutes, you know? So today, I don't know. It's not like my place to judge people on if they're going to choose to drink around me. I have to just make a decision on where I'm going to stay and all of that and what I'm going to do. But to blame other people like my feelings are hurt because you didn't stop drinking because I got sober. What world do you live in that you would even expect that or expect that of people? I never did. But what I want you guys to know out there is, because she's telling you I had a great year, but I have had a great year. I have had a great 29 and a half years, and yes, some horrific shit has happened during that time. But I have good friends today that I can rely on, and they are ride or die, loyal, good Judies. I have a fantastic husband. I have a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I have you guys. And that's all because of my sobriety, and you can have that too. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.